Some of them had their shirts off, and I could see every muscle in their body. I was just 12 years old, standing at 5 feet tall and about 90 pounds. I was a little intimidated, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Turns out I got myself into the best thing I've ever done. I started wrestling. The practice I was talking about was the first practice I ever went to. I had played football for 3 years, but realized that wasn't a sport for me. Some of my friends had wrestled and convinced me to try it. And from that practice till the last match of my high school career, I loved every second of it. It has taught me so much and done so much for me on and off the mat. And I'm here to explain why it's such a great sport. 2 reasons why I think it's a great sport are the work ethic and discipline that it teaches you. I realized very quickly in the sport that you only get out what you put in. If you're not putting in 100% of your effort, regardless of what you're doing, you're not going to improve. You're not going to get better. You can't just go through the motions. And the quickest way I learned that was by winning and losing matches. It's a one-on-one sport, and there's nobody to blame for a loss except yourself. And you only get credit when you win a match. You give the credit to yourself. And to be honest, there's no better feeling in the sport than completely dominating your opponent and knowing that you outworked them. That feels great. But on the other side, when you lose a match and you feel that you got outworked, you feel like crap. If I think that I was lazy that week in practice, the month, the whole season, I didn't do enough work in the off season, that's what pisses me off, and I think that's what makes it such a strong work ethic. And along with that work ethic comes discipline. For those of you that know wrestling, you know that there are weight classes. And in order to wrestle at a certain weight class, you have to maintain a weight. And for some wrestlers, that's pretty tough. They're cutting a lot of weight. And that takes a lot of discipline, whether it's keeping a healthy diet and not being lenient about it, or doing whatever you have to do after practice, running, working out even harder, sitting in a sauna to sweat out weight. That's what takes discipline. I learned that as soon as I got to high school, but I really applied it my senior year. In November, 2 weeks before the season started, I was at my physical, and I stepped on the scale at 163 pounds. My doctor knew I wrestled, and he asked me what weight class I wanted to go, and I told him 138 pounds. I set this goal for myself last year after my junior season when I wasn't satisfied with myself, and I wanted to be back at the same weight class. The doctor looked at me like I was crazy. He kept telling me not to do it, it's unhealthy, you're not going to enjoy yourself, you're going to be exhausted, it's just not going to be fun. And I listened to him, and I knew he might have been right at some points. I knew it wasn't going to be fun. It was going to be hard, but I knew it was what I wanted. And yeah, there were parts that were hard. When I'd come home after practice, and I'd have to go to the sauna and sweat out weight, and run a couple miles in a pair of sweats in a hot gym just to sweat out even more weight. And then I'd come home and have a tiny piece of fish for dinner while I see my family eating a big bowl of spaghetti and meatballs and a tasty dessert. It's hard to stay disciplined, but I did. And I think it was all worth it when I was standing on the podium at the end of the state tournament. And that's why I think it's such a great